edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU. Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheers to Careers. I'm your host, Steve Ridinghouse. I'm the Career and Outreach Coordinator for the KU School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Today we are joined by Katie Wilkinson. She's a sports marketing manager at Rev Entertainment in Arlington, Texas. Welcome, Katie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, I'm glad we connected. It's hard to believe. I think it was 5 years ago. You were enrolled in my professional development class, and I found your resume, and you had a great resume then. And looks like the past 5 years you've continued to build on that resume. So, what's that new role with the Rangers? What's that like?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Right out of college, I went into wine and spirit sales. And after that, I jumped over to a specific vodka brand that had a partnership in the sports space. And I kind of realized I didn't realize, what the power of sports marketing was and what that could look like. So I jumped over to the sports marketing side here at Rev Entertainment. We're a part of the Texas Rangers, so we get to work on some exciting stuff like the new Grand Prix of Arlington. We're working on some entertainment venues popping up at college campuses. So a lot of fun stuff, but really focused on, making sure that I get brands to connect with their consumers in, those authentic entertainment moments.
So do you still have a lot of sales component to what you're doing?
1000%, yes, yeah.
And when did the interest in sports? I mean, when did you kind of realize you could kind of combine sales with sports? Was that kind of a late development, or did you always have like sports in the back of your mind?
Yeah, it was really at that role, with that vodka brand where I realized sports has such a powerful, opportunity to connect brands and products with fans and with their audiences. I've really enjoyed getting a better understanding through this role, of how you can do that in really unique and authentic ways. The way our world is going, you're surrounded by marketing 24/7 through your phone, through signs when you're driving past them. So really like understanding how we can make, an authentic an experience for fans as they come in, have an activation that really connects with fans at the moment where they feel, engaged in their community and connected to the team. It's really powerful, and it's really powerful to see how that does for the brand as well. So it's been a really fun opportunity to see that engagement come to life.
And I assume you have one of those jobs where you probably don't have a typical day. It's probably different every day.
For sure.
That's something you really like about the job?
Yes, it keeps life interesting. I think what I enjoy most about this role specifically is Rev Entertainment. Think of us as a little agency within the Rangers. So what's really special about that is because we work with so many different venues, I not only, get to talk with so many different brands and so many different companies, but I also get to connect them to various different properties and teams. So we work with anything from, the Houston Dynamo to the Colorado Rockies, to, like I said, the Java House Grand Prix of Arlington, which was fun, getting a step into racing and learning how all that works. So it's really exciting to learn different things about each company, and then also get to learn different things about each team and venue and traditions that live within each one of those.
And Katie, how big is your team? How many people do you kind of oversee?
Well, I don't oversee anyone specifically,
Okay.
but my team, I'm one of, let's see, it's about 6 to 8 of us.
Okay.
It kind of varies. For the most part, we all kind of, split up the accounts. We're all focused on selling the same properties together. But, we have a few specialty people who are focused on selling, Conference USA is a big partner of ours. So that's kind of their focus there as well.
And I remember you as a student, I mean, you're extremely motivated, had a lot of drive, and I know you were determined to have, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, I think you wanted to have that job in line before you graduated, and I think you were like an ambassador for the E&J Gallo Winery program, and that was your first job after college too, right? Full time?
Yes, it was. Yeah. So
what do you remember about those early days? I mean, just getting started.
That's a different grind. I mean, I absolutely loved my time with Gallo. I interned with them my junior year, that summer, which actually I was supposed to come down to Dallas, but it actually ended up being the COVID year, so it was all virtual. And then from there, I secured a job with them to move down to Dallas and work for their distributor, Southern Glazers, selling in grocery stores. And you realize, those first few years of working, it's truly about the grind, and you're out there working, understanding just the basics. For that job, it was understanding the basics of retail. But now when I look back, it's understanding the basics of work life, and understanding how important every single relationship is you build throughout that time, and how, just each little lesson you take in your day, each little mistake that you have, can contribute to your career growth as a whole.
And Katie, you mentioned, working virtually, because yeah, your senior year 2021 was kind of a strange time with COVID.
Yeah.
And yes, your junior year, you pretty much got kicked off campus in
Yeah.
March and had to do that all virtually. How did you stay motivated, during that 2021 senior year when everything was kind of on pause?
It was an interesting time. I think we all look back kind of on that time, and see ways that we grew, and things we also are sad that we missed out on. I know specifically I was selected from the professional selling program to go to Austria for a sales competition, and we obviously weren't able to do that. We had to do it virtually. So we obviously all missed out on these big opportunities, but we also look back and see, we all went through something together, and going through that, my senior year of college was a really interesting time. I know for, even attending classes, it looked very different, and it kind of changed the scope of work in a lot of our classes in a lot of ways. But it kind of teaches you a lot of lessons about, when you look into your career now. I mean, things happen on a daily basis, and you just have to learn how to adapt and overcome on all aspects. And I think COVID really forced us all to do that, in a very intense way. And it kind of makes it a little bit easier now in life, to adapt to things that maybe come our way we're not looking forward to.
No, well said. And I know you talked
Yeah.
about the professional selling program. In addition to journalism major, you also were a double major, marketing in the business school. Talk about your involvement with the professional selling program, because I know that's pretty intense, I've heard.
Yeah, it's honestly such a great experience. If you, if you're a student listening to this and you're considering it, I highly recommend joining, even if you're thinking sales isn't for you. I came into KU, never thought in a million years I would go into sales, and that's because we all have this perception of what sales looks like, right? Like we see that sleazy like car salesman we've all been exposed to on TV, like through the little like ads and stuff like that, and you're like, that's not what I want to do. That's not something that would ever seem appealing. But through the sales program, and through those classes, you truly learn. At the end of the day, we're out here helping solve people's problems. We're giving them solutions, and as long as you're passionate about what you're selling, you really find a lot of meaning in it. And that's kind of what I discovered through the professional sales program. So really, when I realized that sales was what I wanted to do with my life, was when I was doing those sales competitions, which, I mean, if you ever partake in one, it's just kind of a wild experience. They're throwing things at you, and you're like, never in a million years would this happen in real life. And I find myself sitting in sales meetings all the time, and it's the exact same things happening. But it's just, once again, it's if you find that motivation, and learning how to overcome objections and helping people solve their problems, then that's really what they teach you about in the sales program. And it's really fun because you get to experience it through the program, as opposed to just learning about it in the classroom, I'd say.
And were those sales competitions, were you pretty much on your own, or were you part of a team?
A little bit of both.
Oh,
So I did one with Paycom, and that was kind of more team oriented. I had a partner specifically for one section, whereas the Hutamaki one, that one was fully on our own, and we kind of went out there and did our own thing, which I was lucky to win that competition, and that's kind of what solidified for me that I was like, oh, this is kind of fun, when you win, which is, at the end of the day, sales, you got those winning days and those losing days, but when you have the winning days, it feels great. So
now looking back, 5 years postgraduate, did you feel like the journalism and the business marketing, was that a pretty good combination?
yeah, it's funny. During school, I felt like a lot of people said, that's kind of a waste to do both journalism and marketing, through the two different schools. Isn't that just kind of the same thing? And to be honest, the main reason I did both was because I didn't know which one I wanted to do. If you had asked me freshman year of college, what do you want to do, Katie? I would have said, I want to be an on-air broadcaster. I did the whole bit through KUJH, and I absolutely loved it. Unfortunately, sales just won my heart over at the end. But what I really learned from double majoring, journalism really taught me how to not only communicate effectively, but what I think of as efficiently. Within the journalism school, you really learn You're talking to people at various different levels of education. You're talking to people, about very intense topics, and here's how to, for lack of better words, like dumb it down for them, and make it so that people can help understand that. And that's a very important thing, I think, that a lot of people struggle with. When you get into, the business world and you're talking about all these crazy logistics and all that stuff. So learning from the journalism school how to communicate effectively and efficiently. And then through the business school, learning all the business pieces. I look back at my business law classes and just learning the basics around HR and how you should be running a team. I managed a team at 22 when I graduated college through Gallo. And it's crazy. You're managing people of different ages. And without having that basis of understanding of, what that looks like from a business perspective, it can be really challenging. So I appreciate both schools and the knowledge they gave me. And I would recommend doing both any day across the board.
No, I always think that's a great partnership for sure. And I think it was on your LinkedIn I saw too. Can you talk about like focusing on your target audience? I would assume that's pretty important in the
Yes.
role you have right now.
And I think, yes, for sure. And the problem and solution I'm solving for my, clients, my partners now, is helping make sure that they're connecting with the right audience. And it's kind of going back to that same thing I said at the beginning, that same sentiment of we are just surrounded by marketing at all times right now. And it's how can you, and once you get into the marketing world, you realize just how expensive and how time consuming marketing truly is on a company. I mean, we're looking at insane budgets, especially talking around World Cup and sports marketing in that sense. Those budgets are intense. So making sure that not only are you having the right partnerships, but also making sure that you spent all the money to have the partnership with the World Cup or with, the Texas Rangers, whatever that looks like, but making sure you're connecting that, those marketing, those marks and logos with the right audience. Otherwise, at the end of the day, you wasted a lot of time and money getting that to come to fruition, if you're not driving that to the right audience, beyond just the stadium.
And I would assume you developed quite a few skills in like data analytics. I mean, I think that works well for budget. I assume you have to look at those analytics before you kind of make a financial commitment. Or do you still go with the gut sometimes?
It's funny. I try and stay away from the numbers, not the biggest numbers girl. But at the end of the day, I mean, numbers are a big player and a big factor in what everyone, uses to make decisions. In the wine world, I specifically used a lot of data and more of that CRM, just to justify more of those sales there. Here, the numbers that we're looking at are more of, here are the impressions, here are the people cycling through the stadium, here's the engagement and all that fun stuff.
And I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I always like to make sure these students are aware of the importance of building relationships, business relationships. I mean, how has that evolved, since you've graduated from KU, making those connections?
Yeah. No, I think the biggest thing I learned is you just never know who has a say and how important they are. I'll use this example. When I was in the wine world, I was selling to grocery stores, not very glamorous, but you're in grocery stores every day talking to store directors, trying to sell displays and all that fun stuff. And I specifically remember I had one of the top accounts in Dallas. So it was really important to me and my team and to my boss that I succeeded in this account. And I was trying to sell in a big display. And I remember my store director looked at me and he was like, I was talking to, we'll call her Sue the other day. And Sue, her whole job in this grocery store is to just hang price tags every day. She hangs price tags and she replaces them, because they have different ads and stuff. And so I was talking to Sue. She said you were extremely helpful in getting the price tags up because she didn't think she was going to get them done. And you just stepped in and helped her. And he's like, you have no clue what Sue means to me and to this store. And because of that, let's find a way to make something happen. So I think at the end of the day, that's just one small example into, a much bigger world that I've stepped into now, where you truly realize you don't know who you're talking to be honest. At all times, and the say that they have into not only the buyer's decision, but also just your career moves in the future, and the impact they can have, in your networking. It's massive. So not to put too much pressure on every, important conversation, but I think at the end of the day, when you're thinking about having conversations when you're in college and beyond, like just treat everyone with the most respect. And also, I would say I challenge everyone, especially students who are listening, to make any, any connection, make it as authentic as possible. You, especially in the sports space, we have a lot of eager students reaching out to us, which is so amazing and such a great resource that LinkedIn is for people to connect in the space. But there's only so much time in the day for us to connect with people. I think, make sure you're reaching out to people who maybe have some type of connection with you already. You went to the same school, you grew up in the same city, something like that, because the authentic connections go a lot longer and a lot further in your career than forcing a connection on some people. In sales, sometimes we have to admit, my counterpart who is or my director, who's a little bit older and who has and who's a man, like might have a better relationship with some of our clients than I do. And that's okay. That's, authenticity goes a long way. So I just highly encourage that in all conversations and relationships.
No, well said. When I was going back through my class files through 505, I found your, I don't know if you remember the professional pitch, elevator pitch. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I was really taken aback by this one line because I think you knew exactly what you want to do. You said, I obviously have a passion for sales, but I hope to grow my skill set so I can one day have a career in brand management. I would think you're there or close to it anyway.
It's interesting because I think that's what's so fun about the role that I'm in now that I didn't know existed when I was in college, is that this is almost, it gives me, you're not covering the whole brand management portfolio, but what you're doing is I'm connecting with the brand managers. I'm learning about so many different brand strategies. And then I get to take that and create a marketing solution for that. So it's kind of fun because I'm not tied down to, not tied down, but tied down to one company or one brand. I get to work on so many different brands and companies that, yeah, I guess in some ways I have reached that goal without the exact title.
No, I think you're right there. What kind of memories do you have with KUJH? I know you did spend some time doing some
Yeah.
TV work. What was that experience like?
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely amazing. I highly encourage everyone to get involved there if you can. I think, it's not only about getting the practice and the reps in, which we all know are so important, but it's truly about connecting with people who are kind of going through the same thing as you are and looking into the same field. I think the journalism school, there's a wide array of where people can kind of, go into different fields, obviously. And when you're connected in KUJH, you get to interact with people who are like, I want to do on-air broadcast. And it's really fun to kind of build those connections and then get to see where those people are going, from here. Obviously I didn't end up in the space, but it's always fun to see where people go.
And were you natural in front of the camera, or were you somewhat out of your comfort zone by doing that?
I liked being in front of the camera. It was definitely something that I wanted to do. And, I still love watching the news. I still watch David Muir on ABC every night. All my friends make fun of me. But journalism still has a very soft spot in my heart for sure.
You talked a little bit earlier, kind of like a little bit of that work-life balance. I know you got married in the past year. You're married to a KU grad, and I think he's also involved in sports, but he's more on the hockey side, accounting side. Do you guys talk a lot about sports throughout the day, or do you just kind of try to keep that in the workplace?
It's funny. I always say, well, he's a little bit quieter than I am. So we don't talk a ton about sports, but it is always fun because we're in the same market, getting to talk about what each team is doing and what each team is working on. It's really, especially in the sports world, but I think in any industry, just having connections, in different companies that are in close range of yours, it's always an interesting thing to discuss. But at the end of the day, I'd say, probably we're talking more KU basketball and our new puppy than anything else.
And did you and Eric meet through the business school?
We actually met in high school.
Oh, high school.
And then we didn't start dating until college, but he moved down to go to SMU for sports management, and I moved down for Gallo, so things just worked out.
And what is kind of your KU story? I mean, were you always wanting to go to KU, or how did that come about?
Yeah, my dad and uncle both attended the KUJ school, so it was kind of always in my blood. My uncle worked for KCTV5 and my dad worked for KMBC, both as photojournalists. So that's kind of what I grew up with. And then my oldest brother went to KU, and then my twin sister and I followed suit. So it's kind of where the family all went, much to my mother's dismay. She's an Iowa State grad.
Okay.
But
So before we move on to kind of the Fast Five feature, what advice do you have? I mean, we're just about 6, 7 weeks away from graduation. I mean, what should the class of 2026, what can they expect when they want to do what you want to do?
yeah, I think that's a big question, but the advice that I've always stuck with that I think helped me the most is don't be afraid to talk about what you're doing. Especially if you're jumping into like my first job out of college, I was, in these grocery stores alone. Like I was not with my manager. No one knew what I was doing on a daily basis. And that's kind of the same now when you're out there in college and you're doing cool things, you're doing, getting involved in various clubs and all that stuff. Make sure you're posting on LinkedIn because at the end of the day, the recruiters, the people on your LinkedIn network are people too. And they look through LinkedIn and they're seeing what you're doing. And it's truly, that's where you get, where people take a second look at you or where they click on your profile. But beyond that, just into your career and life, it's truly important to let your boss know what you're doing and what you're working on and what you think is going well, what's moving forward, what's holding you back. Because I think a lot of times when you're a new grad, it feels kind of nerve-wracking when you're out there and you're talking to your boss to say, here's what I'm working on, here's what's holding me back, but also like, here's what I'm really proud of. And that's what's really important is to make sure that they know, your accomplishments, even though sometimes if you're a little more humble or you think you're being humble by not telling them, you're just holding yourself back by not letting them know.
No, I love the tip about LinkedIn. I know we talk a lot about that in career services in my professional development class. And actually, I think I saw your information pop up and I go, oh my God, that's Katie. I need to find out what she's been up to. So I'm glad we
Yeah.
made a connection. Okay. So yeah, I always like to close with Fast Five. So Katie, do you remember the first job you had that you got paid for?
Um, I mean, beyond just like babysitting and
Mhm.
stuff, my sister and I started working at Culver's at 14. So that was like our first
Oh,
steady
wow.
stuff. Yeah.
And you did it all through high school?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I was
That makes-
big Culver's fan. If you're listening, Culver's, open one in Dallas, please.
So you mentioned you have a twin sister. What's the best thing about having a twin sister?
Just a built-in best friend. I mean, we talk every single day. We live very different lives now. She's a nurse in Kansas, and I'm here in Dallas, in sales. But it's a built-in best friend, and it's somebody who went through everything at the same time I did. So.
And the next question kind of leads to my next question. I saw on your wedding party website, I think she mentioned you're a big fan of Barbie as a princess and the pauper. So how many times have you actually watched that together?
I think I mean the number is you can even fathom, but I guess I would say we watch it annually together.
Okay.
So to this day, once a year.
And I think I picked up on you like to go to concerts. I think I saw Taylor Swift, Luke Combs. What's been the last concert you attended?
Well, specifically here at Rev Entertainment, we host all the concerts here at Globe Life. So I go to a lot of concerts. I think but the last one I went to for fun on a personal note was Shabuzi, and he was amazing.
And the last question, the next time you come to Lawrence, where's the first place you're going to go to eat? You have a
Ooh,
go-to place to visit or eat?
you know, I haven't had a Dempsey's, I haven't had a Dempsey's burger in a while. I need to go back.
Do you make it back to Lawrence very often?
Yeah, I usually make it back about once a year. I'm back in Kansas a lot, but just
Yeah.
getting, I'm from Kansas City, so just getting all the way over to the Lawrence side is a little bit harder, but gotta come check out the new football stadium this year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, next time you drop by, yeah, make sure to visit the J School.
Yeah.
We'll be here. So, hey, Katie, I appreciate your time. Sounds like you're crushing it. I always like to close with the cheers and keep up the great work there in Arlington and with the Rangers. Cheers, Katie.
Cheers. Thank you.